So while I'm preparing the frame, could you tell me a kinds of query that you want to focus? Any kinds of query would work. Or let me just try to insert. Okay, let's just do it. Any query in your mind?
You mean what kind of related should it
So
be?
to be able to create or fill this area and to be able to show how we can use these things in a practical way, and so that you can also remember the things that we just explained at the top, you will need to give me a query, because to be able to fill all these sections, I need to start from here. When you give me the query, the rest of the sections will start to be filled out. Which query do you want to focus on in this practical trial?
What is a VPN, let's say?
What is?
What is a VPN? We could go with this one.
VPN. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So since this is the query, so first of all, when you look at this query, this is actually an explicit question query. We can also try to put a note there. Explicit question query. So why do you think that I am making this point? Why do you think that having a directly explicit question is important for filling the rest of the areas? Because we also have implicit questions, and it changes the process for the search engine. And if you have an explicit question, it means that anything related to the definition of the VPN and also types of the VPN will be more weighted than the other things. But if your query would be just VPN, in this case, maybe pros, cons, maybe risks, maybe prices, or other things will also have some further weight at the same time. But since you have an explicit question in a direct way, which asks for the user's benefits again, but mainly the definition and mainly the phases or the needs, or why do you need a VPN to be able to explain these things. In other words, you will need to focus on these things further. But still, it doesn't mean that actually you won't need to generate further questions, because you have a question here, which is good, but you will need to actually expand this question even further. So in this case, let's say, let me just write here, what is XVPN? The X here, let's interpret it together before the expansion. X here actually can be a subtype of the VPN. I am sure that there are subtypes of the VPN, right? Since I am not an expert for the topic, still I can ask, I guess. Is it correct, Edvins?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. And in this case, we can process the subtypes. Another thing is we will be able to explain them actually in the source context area. But let's say we are able to also give, in this case, let's say what is the purpose of a VPN? We can also ask this question. What is the definition of a VPN? Then we can also ask most of the questions. If your first question or the question in the query, if it starts with the what, you will need to continue with the what most of the time, because this is a relation. As you may remember from the top area, we have talked about the relations. When I scroll up like this, it means that actually we have seen many things. Has a, is a, does a. Since the question has an is a relation, your expansions will need to go from that way as well. And what is the definition of a VPN is one of the questions. What is the, let's say, main benefit of a VPN? And let's say, what is we can also tell in this time again, we can ask okay, what is the historical background of VPN? You can also ask what are the laws for VPN usage. So as long as you continue from the what section, you can continue to actually expand these questions further and further. But whatever you write here, according to your query information, and in this trial or in this practical lecture, I won't use any queries, okay? Or I won't use any kinds of tool. So once you use your own judgment, you will need to imagine that how you can expand this query further. The first thing that you can do is actually take this question and try to put some words before the VPN or after the VPN. So in this case, I have put this X as the subtype of the VPN. I will also put VPN brands, but I know that in the source context area for the next steps, we will be writing that this is already a VPN seller and merchant, so it won't be a wise decision to put other manufacturers or other brands in this area. And if you have other attributes of VPN, like price, like maybe guarantee process, or maybe customer support or other things. So the price is actually for VPN service. The customer support is for VPN company rather than the VPN itself. So I can explain it maybe by driving. Sometimes when you generate the questions, you might not be sure about the connections that much if you think too fast. When I put the VPN here as a concept and you ask what is a VPN. So in this case, a VPN doesn't have actually a customer support. A VPN company has it. So it means that in the information graph and at the same time the knowledge graph, VPN company and VPN are not same thing. If you focus on what is a VPN, you shouldn't use the attributes of a company or a service at the same time. The first area that you will need to focus on, this section. But in this case, you can also ask a question such as, what is a VPN company? And what is a VPN, let's say, so not A this time, what is VPN software? Or you can also tell that what is a VPN company? So if you ask this question at some point, or you don't need to ask, but if you answer this question, even if the question isn't there, in this case, you can talk about service, company, price, or commercial things. But the first thing that we need to focus on this area. So there is one more thing here. I said that this is an explicit question, but again, in uncertain inference, even if the question is well structured and clear, sometimes search engines try to put some other possibilities to here, like company or service or uses or benefits. So if you are sure that the search engine will actually relate these things, you can start to change the order of these things at the same time. So since I generated some questions to process here, the next section is actually interpreting these questions a little further. And if you look at the upper areas, the upper examples here, we write the questions like this, then we start to actually give some types of answer terms for ourselves, like architecture, maybe wine, maybe variations, climate. If you come to this area too, you will need to write some classification methodologies for yourself so that you can write a better context and you can have some answer terms from these things. So how would you interpret these questions? Since I am not that much expert for the topic, without a research, without a query network information or search demand information, I will just try to interpret these questions. The first thing is, of course, definition of VPN, definition of subtypes of VPN, differences of subtypes of VPN from each other. We can also maybe interpret some of these questions in a way that, let's say, inventor, origin of the VPN at the same time, historical background. We can also tell that law differences and, let's say, legal or illegal. And if it is illegal, let's say why. And we can also explain that, of course, the uses, benefits, harms, and risks at the same time. And at some point, companies, let's say companies, software, technological differences, and myths or misleading information. And since I know the topic a little, I know that in the definition of the VPN, we will need to use some certain type of other words. And some of these words will be actually about user privacy or internet privacy or other types of things. But I won't include them here because at this point, I don't use any kinds of tool. So even if I know that the definition will include some certain types of other concepts, I will just assume that I don't know them yet. Do you have any kinds of other interpretation suggestion from your side related to history? For example, the first VPN, I can write them here too. The second one we can write as well. We can also write about VPN market size. At the same time, VPN user statistics. We can also write about it too. We can include more information according to the questions in this area. Do you have any suggestion?
Deals?
Deals? We can give them too, but I usually when I give these interpretations, let me just search the company, the word company. Usually, okay, let's at some point, I guess okay, let me just write them here. VPN companies, let's say, then under the companies, we can write the prices, deals, discounts, and comparisons for, let's say, speed, privacy, and some other things here. So usually I write these type of subsections after this type of a parent interpretation. But if you want to go a little deeper for one of these things, just for the origin or just for the types or the subtypes, I wouldn't suggest you to do that under this query. Because if you start to go deeper only for one of these things further, it means that actually you will be diluting the context and you will go away from this question. So that's why if you want to add more things, try to find a different attribute if it is possible. Maybe let's say VPN alternatives for free internet or something like that. Or you can also tell that user profiles or let's say user personas of VPNs, and then you can include here journalists, and from here you can even find another article topic like best VPNs for journalists and etc. But of course I will delete this because it's not for this query right now. So the next step is writing the context. So the context here actually represents the context of the query. I can explain the query identification or query aspects and query definitions and query answers maybe in another time if we continue later further, but maybe if I find these things quickly for you, let's say aspect, not that. So this might help for that too, even if it is about actually for image results, but still actually it is useful to understand the context at the same time, because this patent or this design basically it is for image labels, and according to the query categorization they assume that the objects on the image they should also follow the query categorization. So basically it is a kind of query based or query focused image classification methodology. But still, the point here is that according to the context of your query, everything will start to change. And the context here is actually learning, let's say, what a VPN is, how a VPN is used, and what are benefits, and then, of course, maybe buying the VPN. But the thing here is that this is the main context here. The other ones are just sub-context, and you will need to use these things for internal linking rather than just explaining them further. When it comes to the phrase or the phrases, these are other connected queries. Again, without using a tool, you will need to imagine different variations of these questions, and then you will try to create some other types of phrases that can actually appear in other related queries. So it might be definition of VPN. VPN, let's say, stands for the first VPN maybe, and let's say you can also suggest how would you search the same thing in different ways. Do you have an idea?
Meaning of the VPN?
Yeah, of course, it can work too. Meaning of VPN, function, VPN. Someone might also search for benefits of VPN, but it means that actually they already know what a VPN is at the same time. They just try to search a specific thing based on that. And if we continue from there, rather after just the definition of the VPN, let's say, yes, what does a VPN stand for? Other phrases we can also try to find, let's say, what does a VPN mean? And these things, these are directly actually related to the direct definition. Maybe we can also write a little bit technological working, no one will search for it, sorry. Let's say working principle of VPN, but the meaning here is how does a VPN work actually. And maybe we can also try to find other phrases, but the other phrases actually will be reordering of these words, like VPN definition rather than definition of VPN. So whenever you find any kinds of phrase that actually use these things, you can actually try to include these things in your questions too, but you don't need to go back. These are just the phrases that will appear in your queries. Okay, we can also write the VPN apps, Tomislav. It will work too, but the thing is, the VPN apps, it wouldn't come from what is a VPN most probably. It wouldn't be a definitional query. It would be a little more commercial and comparisonal to understand which VPN is better. What does a VPN do? Again, it won't work too. What does a VPN do? Because it takes definition from there. So any query that you can put here, or any phrase that you can put here for your own imagination. As I say, we don't use any kinds of tools yet. So any phrase that you put here, you will be able to use them in your document section. So according to these question variations and other related questions to this one, then according to the interpretations of these questions and according to the context of this query and other phrases that can appear in other queries that are searched together with this one, you will need to write the best possible document title. So still, I don't know the search demand. Still, I don't know whether these are the queries or not. Since I am not the expert for the topic, and let's assume you are not too, for just maybe half hour, you will need to write your imaginary title by imagining how would search engine actually understand these things. For instance, if you just write here, definition of a VPN like this, you would lose some sections here. For example, we don't have the function, or let's say what does a VPN do, or working principle of VPN. So we would have an advantage for VPN definition of VPN in terms of phrase matching a little. And from context point of view, we would have a connection here, but still it doesn't explain everything because we don't have the subtypes or we don't have some other things. So another thing here is that if you have just a little, let's say, information about the search demand. Let's say this is a query and it searches for VPN pros and cons. Let me put it here. This is a query network there. And I have another query network, which is like, let me just put here, VPN benefits and let's say possible risks. Then I will put one more and it will go like this. VPN advantages and disadvantages. So all these three things actually can appear in our what is a VPN article too. But my topic is not that. My topic here is that would you open a different web page for all these three different clusters?
Of course not.
How many pages would you open for them?
One?
Only one. So the thing here is that for pros and cons, for instance, you can actually unite these two in a really easy way. Benefit, advantage, risk, disadvantage. But when it comes to the pros and cons, it is actually a kind of query template. When you have a query template in the query semantics, usually search engines try to cluster these things separate than these ones. So I will just try that. Sometimes PageRank actually changes the results too. It doesn't have to be VPN, by the way, because when you search for pros and cons of, you will actually see a kinds of many different templates. And again, let's go from the VPN. So in this case here, we have you, by the way, with this exact title nearly, pros and cons. Pros and cons, it goes pros and cons, pros and cons, pros and cons. And again, we have the advantages and disadvantages. First of all, we have search demand here. According to this tool, it is around here. So if you have further search demand, and if you have a template, by saying query template, I mean a template that will appear in all of the topics, in all of the industries. In this case, search engine creates a separate cluster for the query. If it creates a separate cluster, it means that you might need to open a new page. It is not an obligation, it's optional, but sometimes it benefits. Now if I search for the benefits of a VPN, this time the results from the previous query, they might actually get lost. So if I search for the pros and cons, let's say it appears first time at the second page this time, and the total global volume for here it is actually higher, and I believe we also have a related page at somewhere. Let me just check while we are here. So we have a different page for benefits of VPN at the same time. I will add benefits and risks too here. So let's see how these things work. So now when I search for benefit and risk, this time this appeared, advantages and disadvantages. But the thing here is that the advantage is united with the word risk this time. So as maybe an interchangeable synonym, but this is a feature snippet, which means it is actually matching some of the questions that are generated from this query, and some other candidate questions are located here too. So it's not about information retrieval, it is about extraction. So I will continue from this area this time. So when we search for the benefits and risks of a VPN, we actually see this one here, advantage and disadvantage. At the same time, we also have the pros and cons. Again, advantages and disadvantages, benefits here we have. So in a way, when I add the word risk together with the benefit, these three clusters come closer to each other. But when I remove the risk, most pages actually focus on only the benefits. And we have many examples for that too, directly. So we can open a single web page for all these three things. But in my suggestion would be actually differentiating this one from these two. I will unite these two. Actually, this is what you do already according to the SERP, because you have a pros and cons page. You also have a complete benefit page. I didn't see the risk or disadvantages section in your website according to SERP. Maybe it is because you try to sell it rather than just try to show the risks to the potential buyers. So if I come back to this section, and if I just write the definition of a VPN, it means that actually I won't have that much connection to that benefits section, disadvantages section, risk section. So sometimes if this is your query and if it's an explicit question, just go with that. What is a VPN? The next sentence or the next section that you will include, it will need to be connected to this, but at the same time some other sections that you just skipped. So what is a VPN company can't be asked there, software or other things too. You will need to choose maybe the types. The problem here is that if you just write types to your root article, the VPN types I mean, these might need to be a separate article or a different article in this case. So we have protocols and the 4 types and different types and others. So in this case, if I put a direct word here by saying the types of VPN, benefits of VPN, or other types of pros or cons of VPN, it means that I will dilute the context, because these things are clustered with different networks and different articles are ranking for them already. So to consolidate it, we can try to actually write a different question here by meaning the same thing. So I can't ask a second question by saying what, but I can use an incomplete phrase by just saying maybe, let's say, definition, and let's say uses rather than benefits. And do you have one more attribute that is more related to the definition? Purpose would work, function would work, but these things are not appearing in your phrases, the possible phrases that will appear in other queries. You will need to choose a related phrase from this area. App wouldn't work too. Meaning would work as well. So in this case, you should understand that from this query to these other query phrases, there is a connection via these questions, question interpretations, and the context. Then according to that, you are writing this. And if you continue to create these 2 frames for other types of queries, like pros of cons of a VPN, let's say, if you do the same thing, then you will start to see that actually how you can consolidate the relevance further. Because if I put a single word here like benefit, risk, harm, type, price, or brands, etc., it means that actually my main article will start to rank for other things. But actually, the other articles should be linked from the bottom side of the section. So the source context is your brand identity. I will just say here VPN brand that sells, let's say, VPN service. Document context is, let's say, giving the definition of VPN and its working, let's say, principle overall with subtypes and some main benefits. I am saying main benefit because we are not giving all of the benefits. It is for another article. When it comes to the information tree, if you look at this area, let me just try to show from here. It means that actually you will need to understand where these articles stands directly in your structure. So in this case here, we can write, let's say, if your query would be like benefit, the benefit will go like this. VPN, let's say, then the benefit will come directly here. But in your situation, actually, in information tree, this comes directly here. Definition VPN, let's say. And then at some point, you can actually even imagine your next articles. Benefit might be there at somewhere. Then you can also have the, let's say, pros and cons at somewhere. You can also have the apps. It's also somewhere at the bottom. You can try to have some other things like different types. So this information tree section shows that actually where you will be linking to while creating your article. The answer terms are close to the phrases or query phrases, let's say. So why this is important? Because according to your answer terms, the search engine will try to choose the feature snippets, or they will try to understand whether the information is accurate or not. So this is the antonym of the phrase section here, because these are the phrases that will appear in the queries and questions. And these are the phrases that will appear in the documents. And there is always a vocabulary difference between query and question phrases and answer phrases. Because most of the time, when someone searches for what is a VPN, they don't know the answer. So basically, they also don't know what answer terms are, and they can't search for it. And that's why, even if you don't see certain things directly in your question phrases, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't mention them. You will even need to expand them even further, as long as it is a unification of your source context and the query context together. So in this case, let's together try to search a couple of things from here, and maybe we can try to see these things. So when I search for the VPN types, here, if you see that the personal VPN, it might be one of the actually answer term. Remote access, internet-based site-to-site, or external-based something here too. So I will write a couple of things here. Let's say remote access. Then we will have some other answer terms probably. Internet. Okay, these are basically types. We can try to use them as well. So I have written these answer terms here too. Sometimes in my briefs, I am using these answer terms or query phrases under the or between the quotation marks in a direct way. So we have another thing here. Probably you, since you are an expert on the topic, you might tell me that actually it's not that much answer term is not correct. I am just giving some random samples here. Because even if this term directly, even if it doesn't have a search demand, it appears in the documents as an answer. So we can actually use them. So client to server VPN, we have remote access site to site, okay, peer-to-peer VPN, I believe, single protocol VPN, etc. You can use this. The main thing here is that all of these phrases or answer terms, they usually appear for VPN types. So let's say again, what is a VPN? And I will skip your document this time to see others a little further. Encrypted connection might be one of the direct answer terms here too. So basically, while answering the questions in this area, you will need to use these phrases. And my suggestion to you would be actually using as much as possible answer terms for all of the questions in this area. If you go and search for what is the purpose of the VPN, if you see some other bolded sections directly from the Google or Google search engine, you can actually try to use these type of things there. Again, we have encrypted server, which is a different answer term this time, because this was just encrypted or encrypted connection. Now we have another one, which is, let's say, encrypted server. The next one might be IP address. Since it is too ordinary, I won't write it. If you see some other technical or knowledge domain terms around these things, just try to write them. Again, the connection, and we have the word tunnel here, which might help you. And let's say you have these phrases, then go and choose another question. And let's say, what is the main benefit of a VPN? So if you have a maybe feature snippet, it was my thing. Okay, stop people. So it is too direct. And maybe stop a web browser from gaining access to your connection. You can directly tell actually prevention of unauthorized access or these type of things. You can also generate these answer terms. You don't need to take them always. Of course, you can write internet speed or information privacy or other things. Let's say prevention of unauthorized connection, or let's say access. So these answers will need to appear in your article, it means. And next time, actually, you can try to write more things into this area as well. But if you want to start a document while writing these things, and we can check a couple of documents according to these things as well. Let's check. I won't be able to open yours, I believe, even if I want, because since I am located in Turkey, I will be able to see it in this way as much as possible. And I know that these are accordions, but it is also interesting that actually web cache directly opens them and caches them in that way. Maybe because they just trigger all of the event listeners or click event listeners or other types of things, open everything and cache everything in that way. So in this case, this is your document. And let's try to open one more. And if I may open that one in a direct way, I can try to use it too. So the first thing here that this is actually a direct connection, what I mean there too. What is a VPN? And the both of them actually start with the same way. I would like you to forget this referring domain section as much as possible. And I can tell that actually you have higher numbers there. And also these area differences too. Again, you have the higher number, but of course it doesn't mean that you have higher page rank. I will just try to see actually how this second section differentiate the situation as well. It's normal that actually this URL has higher traffic than you because they actually focus on other context areas too, like how it works, types of VPN. But when we search for types of VPN, if Kaspersky actually is able to rank really, really high, let's say, did you check that URL ever? Sorry. It's here.
You mean Kaspersky? Yeah.
It's here, but as you see, it doesn't actually rank for the types of VPN that well. So in this case, you will need to create a kind of relevance radius. Let me just explain that. You will imagine that this space is a physical platform, and this is the query, okay? And the query here is VPN types. And the search engine needs to choose a document for this query, and there is always an imaginary distance from query to the document. So if you search for what is a VPN, then the VPN types. Let's say this is your document title. So it means that actually your first context is definition, and you don't go for the types that much. If you find another document directly VPN types, it means that actually this will be closer to the query in a direct way. So if these documents have enough level of page rank historical data, and if the source that actually covers this topic, if they also have an article at somewhere just for what is a VPN, in this case, this will attribute its overall relevance to the VPN types, and since VPN types only cover this query, it will be able to rank actually higher too. That's why while writing my own document title here, I didn't want to put a word like benefit or advantage or risk or types or work. I try to focus on definition and meaning again as much as possible. This is just for linking to the benefits section in a quick way. If I come to this area again, you will see a similar situation here at somewhere here too, because this one also says what is a VPN, and this one also says what is a VPN. So in other words, the search engine actually located both of these web pages, and these are their main context, the macro context in the document, and this is actually the site context. But when you look at the query, the macro context should be actual types of VPN rather than definition of VPN. So that's why when we look at the top of the SERP, we only see the sections like for common or which type or protocols or type at the same time, or the more related words directed to this section. Same will happen for this area too. Let me just check these two again. It asks this one, for example, but it's not a strong website, so I won't be able to check it. So the other thing is, if this website wouldn't have anchor tags related to the type or something like that, they might not even rank here. So Kaspersky has a strong branding power. Most probably that's why it is able to be on the second page that much. So in this case, let's examine the sentence structures that you actually use. Is it okay for you? If you have further questions for this area, by the way, I will be happy to answer. I can keep this lecture long enough, even 2 hours if you want. I'm okay. Just I want you to be able to understand the frame structure here. Any question? I will be happy to answer. Edvinas?
I think everything's clear. I'm just curious, as we look into our What's the VPN page, and there's a definition content. I don't know what ideas do you have further, but maybe we can review the page and review how well does it implement all the things that we just
Okay.
put in the table.
So usually if I want to compare two websites content network, most of the time I use these search operators. First the site, then the just entitle VPN. So this will give me all of the articles that actually the word VPN appears in their titles. Since I'm able to see the main context of the articles from their titles, it will just help me to actually calculate these distances and their networks to each other. Because if I remove this node from this website, then actually this one might be more advantages at the same time. The purpose here is that actually going closer to the query, and if you are going closer, it means that actually this will stay at the behind. So when I check to the NordVPN section here, of course we will have too many pages here. I can try to have some other filtrations by using minus here, but since we don't have that much time for that, I will try to search for the word benefit. So I am not a robot. So when I search for the word benefit, now it gives me 27 articles that actually have the word benefit, the word VPN in title and benefit at somewhere, maybe URL, it doesn't give the URL, maybe text, maybe description, and maybe somewhere regular, maybe even sidebar. So we have benefits of VPN. What are the pros and cons of VPN? So these are not conflicting to each other, as I say, because these two are different query templates. Do I need a VPN at home? Okay, I usually check these search traffic and query count at the same time. So 8 common myths, okay, VPN for dummies, a guide for beginners. So I see that actually it is taking traffic. I am not against that, but this is about how to use a VPN in a way, we can tell. And if you have a guide at somewhere for beginners or dummies, etc., I wish I could open. I can tell that you will need to link the types, benefits, pros, cons, or other articles from the proper ways. Since I am not able to open your document in a direct way, I can't tell whether you link or not. If I go to the, okay, it's opening, even if it is slow. If I go to the Kaspersky, since it is actually an antivirus program mainly, you can also check how they are structuring their website just for the VPN. I don't see a big network here or that much details. That's why maybe they just wanted to write a single thing. But if they just divide these things, they can actually take more traffic in total, I can tell. Most of this number comes from what is a VPN query, by the way, but their average ranking might be lower than this one. I will start from here. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. So in information theory, there is a concept which is called compressing the data. I will ask a simple question. Why do you think that most of the stop words are between 1 and 3 letters? Like for, like an, is, to, or in, on, at. They are usually 1, 2, or 3 letters. They are not longer. Why do you think that? All of the languages are like this, by the way. I don't know Polish that much. Maybe yours is an exception. I don't know, but usually the stop words are really short. Any idea why the humans created language in that way?
To not take away focus from the words that have meaning.
Yes, it is also one of the linguistic theories in qualitative linguistics, because, sorry, forgive me, Lithuanians, forgive me. So I'm really sorry for that. Forgive me. So if I return to the topic, according to the information theory, if you use actually shorter words for functional words or stop words, it means that actually you will be able to compress the data and you will be able to increase the success of transmission. So that's why if you are able to give more information, with less words, it is always better. So in this case, actually, let me just open the document design mode if I can. One sec. Okay, so in this case, let me just go to this area. Okay, so in this case, if you are able to write it in this way, let's say virtual private network, and then actually directly go to the next sentence. Let's say is. So what is a VPN is actually is a relation, and if you write it in this way, you are actually protecting your answer format, or let's say your question format, directly in your answer format too. Another thing is we actually used less words, but still we say the same thing. But there is a problem here. If in the queries that in this area, at somewhere someone told VPN stands for, this is a kind of query. If you see that this phrase appears in the query network or the queries, in this case, using that here as the previous state is not a wrong practice. Okay, if you see it in the queries, use it in that way. But if you are able to use these things with shorter sentences, or if you are able to use these type of syntaxes, it's better. But always check the queries first. You say that VPN is a service before anything else. So according to you, this is the most important attribute of the VPN. Then you tell that this is the first function of that. You protects your internet connection and privacy online. So here you say the word your. I am not against that, but I am just saying that if you will say user internet connection, or let's say users or users. So in this case, if you see the word user, maybe a couple of times, maybe more, in a contextual way, it might a little help you further for further relevance at somewhere. And another thing here, you say it creates an encrypted tunnel, which are already in our answer terms here when we check. Tunnel for your data protects your online identity by hiding your IP address. You can also tell direct again the user, hiding user IP address, or another word you can also use, and allows you to use public Wi-Fi hotspots safely. So I am trying to use the word use or users a little further. Let me just show an article. Maybe I can find. Yeah, here. So another aspect here. This is a blog post from Microsoft Bing, just for understanding the query semantics a little further. I will try to explain a concept here. These things are the word2vec, by the way, but these are the queries. Basically, they are actually clustering queries according to their co-occurrences. And there are 300 different dimensions here. It means 300 different queries. So here this says similar queries. We have some questions here. and distance. The smaller, the more similar to the original query. So the Bing assumes that the shorter queries are the original queries. When the query gets actually longer, it means that it is variated and is just represented. And at the same time, if I come a little more below, you will actually see an important section here which says character vectors. So it is important because thanks to character vectors, the search engines, they are able to actually increase their relevance algorithms further because it is highly connected to the stemming and lemmatization. They can understand a word or word boundary, but if they are able to actually realize characters beyond the root of the word, it means that they are able to variate the word further. So in this case, if I come back to your document too, sorry, it's here. Because of the Google favicon, it was hard to find. Anyway, so if I come to this area too, actually, the word uses, the word user, the word using, or other types of words that will appear related to use, all of them will contribute further relevance for being ranked by the search engine. Because this is the actual root of the word, and other excessive characters like RS or any kinds of lemmatization or stemming versions of this specific word, they will just help you for further relevance. That's why I would actually try to use more contextual words that will appear in the queries without losing the meaning. If you want, you can also try to variate it. If you see the word client, customer, or other types of things, you can also try to use it at somewhere else. So usually you use the question format in your queries, which is actually very much better. This is also in the question format, again the question format. Only thing here is that how the VPN servers operate, which is good because VPN server, again, it is a different thing from the VPN, but it is an attribute, let's say a different thing, but there is a phrase taxonomy here. The only thing here is that after the VPN tunnel established, actually, if you directly tell VPN servers operate via or by or any kinds of functional word would actually work here. You can tell after the VPN tunnel is established. Then actually this will be a better section because you should actually protect your question format directly in your answer format. If you think that the word operate is not a relevant word to your context that much, as I showed before, you can come here, search for VPN, then search for operate. If you see that there are 6.500 million documents here, then try to take a synonym of these, maybe work, maybe function, maybe handle, maybe control. Let's say the function or others. If you see a higher number here, it means that it is a closer word to your own context in this case, but the ads blocked me for seeing the total result count. You can also tell work or other things. And by the way, if you see more search refinements or more ads at the same time, it means that actually this is also closer to your context too. So you can tell also VPN servers work via etc. etc. There is one more thing here. I always try to use the main entity at least twice at the beginning sentences. If you check here, if I search for the word twice, use the named entity at least twice in a second if you have used it in the first time in the article. So first time in the article we are using the word VPN because this is the beginning area. I will use it at least twice if it is possible. And if we come to this area, you use public Wi-Fi regularly, etc. These areas are a little for convergence or user experience. I won't dive in that much. No one likes to be watched or tracked. So even you, etc., etc., etc. Again, it's not bad. But if I search this query on Google, you can search your subsections all the time from Google. And when I search for why do you need a VPN, and there is an answer here, then the answer doesn't start with a rhetorical question that much. So this is actually used in news SEO a lot. And in the news SEO, usually the search engines, they try to differentiate opinions, rhetorical questions, jokes, or other types of analogies from the news content itself. It is actually called machine. Let me just try to search it quickly. News and opinion, and I guess I will try to find it. Yeah, it was this one. So here, opinion news found by machine learning at Google. So this is actually a research, and also there is a patent there too. They try to differentiate actually opinions from the news, how to identify opinions in documents. So in this case, here too, when I check your document, if you would remove this sentence from your document, you wouldn't lose the meaning. But if you think that this is important for the user experience, I can't tell something like that because semantics is a different angle. And why do you need a VPN? If you ask such a question, since you already have a document for why do you have a VPN, I believe you have an answer here. In this case, you will need to link this document from this area somewhere. So there is a link here from the VPN word. I don't know where it goes. I will try to see it from here. If it is possible, it goes to the download link. So I am not sure whether you disallowed this link or not, because if you are using the word VPN as an anchor text to the other web page, and if I search for the VPN by saying VPN, by the way, if you have a page like download VPN, if this is that, okay, then this is okay. Because let me just check. So the main thing here is that the word download appears at the bottom. Not entirely, but just a little problematic. So you have an exact document with this heading, right, Edvinas?
Not maybe exact one, but
It's close.
Huh?
Yes, okay. So if you have a document with nearly the same title, you should also include a link from somewhere here or maybe in this area to that section too. And if you are able to use the reasons for having a VPN at any kinds of anchor text there, maybe you can even use this anchor text too. It's not a problem. If you link to the download URL, which is not a problem and a good practice, and you use the VPN word, again, it's not a bad practice too. But the thing is, the word download doesn't appear around this area. The browsing appears. So if you are able to actually use the annotation text, the annotation text means that the text around the anchor text, and the search engine also include the text around the anchor text for understanding the purpose of the link. At somewhere here, if you're able to use the word download or any kinds of synonym of the download around here, it will be better. If you use another title of a document as a heading in another one, you will need to connect them to each other too. So I am not telling that this is wrong. It is just from information retrieval point of view. If I open another paint here, let's say you have a document here, another document here too, and this is the title of this document, and this title appears also here too as a heading. So in this case, from here to the here, you will need to create a kind of link, and the anchor text of this link will actually need to have a close relation or a kind of relation to explain these things, and usually it should be the predicate and the noun in this heading and in this title at the same time. If from here you will link another one, let me just give it to the here. This is your download article in this case. So you don't link here, but from this heading you link to the actual this one. And this is the title. And this title, the title here, it's just download a VPN maybe, or how to download a VPN, etc. It's not connected to this heading that much. And the main predicate here, which is download, it doesn't appear in the paragraph of the link. So from search engine point of view, it's not that clear to explain the purpose of the link or connection of the link. The good practice here is that you use the seed query for your most important page, which is the page that actually appears when we search for the VPN. Another thing is, as I can see, it is your first link plus first anchor text in this document. You have a subscribe here, but or buy VPN here too, but they might go to the pricing, etc., which is not a problem. In the main content area, this is your first link, and it uses the VPN, which is a seed query, plus it goes to the most important page, the root article, we can call it. And in this case, the order of the link or the position of the link is correct. Just this around, it might change a little. And what does a VPN do? Again, I can tell that you will need to protect your network at the same time. If you search for these things, if you see some results related to the maybe how does a VPN work or etc. Again, what is a VPN? What is a VPN? So we are under the same structure here. But our article for this one, it doesn't rank higher than these two. VPN, and the most important section here is different. Because the search engine, they actually bold these two, and they are taking your initial beginning sentences. So in this case, you can actually try to change your sentences for this article. For example, what does a VPN do? Try to use an expanded version of this area, the one that starts from here. The search engine assumes that the most related sentence for that question from this document is this one. So if you're able to expand that sentence under this one with a better format, in this case, actually, you can see that the most related section ranks here. And then actually, we can also see that this article ranks higher for this one too. If you rank higher for this query, it means that you will also rank for other queries that are connected to this thing as well. It will give you an advantage against this article at the same time. And you can also realize a kind of similarity between Kaspersky and yourself. Basically, the first section of your answers are nearly the same. They only use a kind of capitalization here, and only thing is that they have this jump link at the first place, and you can try to actually take some maybe things here, and they give the answer directly, by the way. They directly tell a VPN hides, etc., etc., etc. There is one more thing. Let me just search you one of my next articles. I can also try to do the same. Soon it will be published, I hope. So I will go to the below, because you and Kaspersky or other websites, you have too many common vocabularies or common words. Let me just take this like that. So, or let me show you this graph. So when you search for the SEO on the Google, you will be able to see some certain types of results. So this is from WordStream, and it gives me the non-stop words, non-functional function, or any kinds of non-alphanumeric characters or words. And it tells me that the word stream ranks higher than Search Engine Journal ranks higher than Blogs HubSpot. And these are the most used words in their articles with their numeric values. You can see the difference between them in terms of frequencies a little bit. But of course, this is a simple thing to check. You can also include the biograms, engrams, or even adjectives, predicates, anything that you want. For example, the word stream, they actually use the word Google more than SEO, and they still rank higher, by the way. Another thing is that when I come to the bottom area, you will see that a vocabulary difference. For instance, when I search for this thing directly here, or let me just give it like this, these are the words that appear in the article of TechTarget, and they don't appear for the Moz. So the word resources, accountability, opportunity, organic, or hire it, browse, actively, or protocol, high quality, functions, anything that you just see here. If you're able to check the vocabulary differences between you and your competitor webpage, and then if you can do the same thing just for the headings and the first sentences after the headings, you can actually decrease the vocabulary difference, plus you can try to use some unique sentences. What I mean there, so this sentence exactly, I believe, appears in your article too, which is not a problem. I am not telling you to change the sentence. I am just trying to tell that you can expand this information by using some unique word sequences. If you use some unique word sequences that don't appear in this article, you will have an advantage there too. And here, this is the purpose. For example, the word software are used 9 times in TechTarget and 0 time in the Moz. If the word software appears in queries, or if it is an important attribute, it means that actually this article will have an advantage there too. When I share these things, you can do this. This is the other version, by the way. These are the words that appear in the Moz article, but they don't appear in the TechTarget. And this is a conversional page. That's why you see the word free or solutions or pro or these type of things, or billing. because they rank with a commercial web page in this case. So I will continue from here. I know that we have spent already 1 hour, so I will try to be a little quicker. When I look at your competitor, they also ask for the benefits directly in this area. They don't use a listicle, but they give a list-like form. These are the heat words. I actually define them in that way. And when I check our article, I will check the benefits section at somewhere. Is it true that we didn't use the word benefit even once? Really? So we have the how it works. Types of VPN, you also have them at somewhere, but this is, since the cache version, it doesn't give everything. The thing here is that when you create your frame, if you think that in the information tree we have the benefit, the pros and the cons, apps and different types, you will need to link these things from the root of your article at the same time. And you will need to compare the link order in the main articles and their anchor text as well. I can tell that your internal link or the anchor text is very much better than this competitor. But the thing is, this article actually focuses on history at the same time. They also focus on benefits here too, but they expand it too much. I wouldn't dive into the benefits here that much. I would expand it into the specific article. And here we have the VPN types. We also have it, but I am not able to see the content here. If you are able to use, I believe you already have some internal links at somewhere to do these things too. I am just guessing. And it's normal to see that actually for the definitional article, this ranks higher than yours because it gives way much more information. The only problem here is that they are giving everything in the best, not best maybe, but most detailed way in a single article. So when you say how to install a VPN connection on your smartphone, you can use these type of steps, but I will use these steps in directly that article rather than here. I will just give a substantial amount of information here. I will give the extensive amount of information on that specific node. So people of NordVPN, I am trying to explain these things from sentence structures, other things. I can actually give way much more things. For example, I wouldn't start a sentence by saying that's why. I wouldn't use this separator because it is an HTML entity and it dilutes the relevance. When I look at the other areas, I have some areas that I'm not able to click. Nothing wrong there too, but all these questions are actually yes or no questions, and this is not. So in this case, actually, I usually put these yes or no or Boolean type of questions under a root question, and usually I try to connect these things to each other. This one, for instance, it talks about legality. So I would try to differentiate this one to this one as well. I am not sure whether we actually have any kinds of internal link at somewhere here too, but all these things can be connected to different subsections, and we can actually try to use these interlinks too. You have it, but again, it goes to the Dovland, I guess. Dovland, the app you say. I can tell that it is not the perfect anchor text. I would use VPN app, for instance, Dovland VPN app. I wouldn't use the word the. The word the is a stop word, functional word. It's not that important. But if you're able to tell Dovland VPN, it will be better. The thing here is that since you are linking the same area second time, it wouldn't be effective for your page rank flow. I will try to actually link a different section, which is the legal or VPN laws. Another thing is here you tell, are there any alternatives to VPN which also appears in our query network or query interpretation at somewhere. In this case, again, you will need to link it to, if I can check it by expanding it further. Yeah, to do VPN alternatives, again, you will need to add some links too. This is your supplementary content basically. And you can actually use this area for linking to the site context sections, and whatever you write for these things, you can try to actually include them too. If I search for the law, I will find different articles here. And for China, you say common meets, travel guide, and other things here. And if I search for VPN laws, at somewhere you might have a kind of contextual domain here. I guess you already have an article like this. I am not sure. You have the question, but not bad. But are VPNs illegal or is VPN legal, etc.? This should be a different article than the VPN for school, to be honest. And these might be even connected to the best VPNs for school or these type of things as well. But I will try to focus on or process these concept as well without schools only. If I search here, not just school, basically any kinds of workplace or locality won't appear for this query. It is a little more different. I would like to have your questions for sentence structures further. There is a link here. You have it. Are VPNs legal? I wish I could open it from Turkey too. Since I can't see the content from here, actually you should link this URL that you are giving to me. And from this URL, you will need to link to the definitional article. It means that from bottom of this article, maybe it opens slowly, I don't know. The bottom of this article will actually need back to this definitional area as much as possible. And if you are able to use the same question as a heading somewhere, maybe in this one too, it will be better too. And this question is actually plural form. Are VPNs legal? It says you should ask these explicit questions, as I say, like what is a VPN, if you see them in the query. And if it is plural, this should be plural too, since it appears in that way in the queries more. You can try to use the singular version in your second or third answer as much as possible. Edwinas, do you have any question for me? Any section? I can try to explain further or find some other samples.
Just can say that this is super useful stuff, and I would like to hear more. Actually, I don't know
if I can continue.
Okay.
The only thing is that if you're able to give me a little more direction, because since I am not able to open the pages in a proper way, it's a little harder for me. If you want, I can examine one of your competitors too. Again, it's up to you. So I will continue from this area. Here actually you try to explain how VPNs work. One more thing here is that you should add your logo to your images. Try to take their IPTC metadata as well. And if you are able to actually use, let me just, it is the things that I will just tell, it is about discourse integration and page segmentation. If you are able to put a connection from this paragraph to this image, and from this image subtext or image fig caption to this paragraph, it will be very much better because it will show the connection of this image to this area, to this area. It will also connect this one to this one as well. If all of the contextual processors, let's say I process the context of here, and I found them, they are not exceeding the threshold for being connected. Image can actually provide that. And another thing here is that the distance between these two paragraphs, it is too much due to this image. That's why in your alt tag, maybe in your IPTC metadata, or especially the visible section of the image as text, which is image caption, it should use some mutual words from here to here. Another thing here is that you are linking to the client-based VPN. So of course, I am not against linking to that area, but if this is a subtype of VPN, I will link it from the types of VPN section rather than how does a VPN work. From how does a VPN work section, since we won't open a second article about it because we just checked the cert, we see that this definition of VPN and its working principle is closely related to each other. But you can actually keep this section really close to your VPN types because every type of VPN might work in a different way. Since they might work actually in different ways, you can try to explain that for certain VPN types. Step 2 or step 4 actually changes a little. And in this case, actually, the types of VPN and the VPN working principles, they will be connected further. And client-based VPN, if it is a type of VPN, it will be more meaningful anchor text at the same time. And how does VPN tunneling work? Here you use passive voice, but your question is not in the form of passive voice. And this is actually, it says created by first authentication your client. The question doesn't say how is it created, it says how is it work. You can tell that a VPN tunnel works via first authenticating your client and etc. If you have some this type a computer, smartphone or tablet, so this is a kind of comment or something like that, just try to tell actually such as, and you can actually then give these samples, and you can put a comma and or something like that, and you can continue from there. So another thing is that if you can find a kind of hierarchy from VPN tunneling to the VPN servers, let me ask you, if you would create a hierarchy between these two, which one would encapsulate which one?
Could you explain your question?
I will. So VPN tunnel, I guess it is a kind of connection methodology or maybe process of connecting to the VPN server. Is it correct?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So in this case, actually VPN tunnel is encapsulated by the VPN server, because this thing is actually used for the VPN servers itself. In this case, this will be actually more important, this one. You can even change their order, and in this case actually you can mention the VPN tunnel at somewhere here, then you can explain it further. If something is a process for something else, that second thing is more important than the first one, because first one purpose is already second thing. So VPN tunneling purpose is already for this one, in other words. And you here you should remember that before being sent and received over the internet, any data needs to first be split to packets. So the sentence structure here is not wrong, and it is good for the users. I am not against that. But the thing here is that okay, so in this case you can actually write the same thing like this, split into, you can try to use actually a kind of instruction rather than you should, because this won't appear in the queries, it won't appear in the feature snippets too. Imagine that every sentence that you are creating, it is a kind of answer or a kind of trying for the feature snippets. So this section here nearly until here is not relevant to the topic that much, and here you say any data. If you are able to give a couple of maybe examples by saying such as, it will be better. To ensure each data packet stays secure, a VPN service wraps it in an outer packet, which is then encrypted. Okay, so the sentence here is not wrong, but again, if you check the SOP section here, you will actually see that how the sentences can be structured a little further. You can actually take this area and you can try to put it somewhere here. So this which section too, by the way, it can be a second sentence just after that. You can tell that it is then encrypted through a process called encapsulation. So if I remove it, a VPN service wraps, let's say, you can also tell that actually a VPN service ensures each data packet stays secure by wrapping it an outer packet. Then you can tell that it is called blah blah blah. It is then encrypted through a process called encapsulation. My purpose here is actually starting your sentence with the VPN service first to put it to the more center as a context word. Another thing is that starting sentences by to ensure, to protect, to etc. It is actually like starting your sentence from the middle of the thought. But if you just give your subject, then if you give your predicate, then actually you can give your purpose at the end of the sentence, which is just this area. This exterior packet, I am not against these two, but you use a pronoun here. Using the pronoun is not wrong, but it's a new paragraph. And if you are a machine, you might not get what this pronoun refers to from the previous section. Here you say exterior packet. The word exterior has an antonym which is interior. In this case, you also say the packet, but what kinds of packet? I believe you have data packet. So in this case, you should tell actually exterior data packets keep the data source during the etc. And another thing is the word exterior. I am not expert for the topic, but the search engine, they always use antonyms for expanding the meaning further. If you have the interior data package or something like that, try to explain it too. When the data arrives at VPN server, you say, in this case, the word arrive is not wrong, but if you can use more related predicates to your context, like transmit maybe, or transferred maybe, or transferred via X protocol, something. And in this case, the sentence when should actually come to the end of the sentence. The author packet is removed to access the data within which requires the description process when the data arrives at the VPN server. Here too, actually, if you look at this area, you will see similar samples too. He will come to the school, wrong. He comes to the school. And another thing here, it's actually here. The because actually comes to the end of the sentence. And if comes to the actually second section of the sentence, etc. Let's continue. I have checked this area already. I am not able to open this. If sentence should come to the second area, you tell if you ever needed to. So these are not contextual plus not relevant to your queries, but still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. And the sentence is not finished and there is no info. Here you tell actually log on to your office network. You must likely use a remote access. So here you explain the remote access VPN by saying a remote access VPN allows users to connect to the remote network. Thanks for using the word users. Here too, actually, you can give instructions. You can tell that to connect to the remote access VPN, use, do, etc. You don't need to tell if you or your or something like that. And it makes working away from the office safer and easier as employees can access the data and resources from anywhere. Okay, not wrong, but if you're able to use some knowledge domain terms, it might a little help you further. Let me just take it so that I can show. When you say the remote access or remote access VPN, if you see some definitional words that can help you, any kinds of word related to the technological side of these things. For example, is VPN remote access secure? And in this case, if you have a certain type of protocol or maybe any kinds of encryption algorithm name or any kinds of specific concept, it will be useful. You can also give working phases, working steps. Here it says a remote access VPN works by creating a virtual tunnel between employee's device and the company's work. The word virtual tunnel here, it will actually help you to create a better and more relevant article here too. You can use it. Speech security privacy, it will work too. Okay, let me check it. It works. And I guess this is a kind of tunnel too. via a kind of service. But again, I guess it opens it in a cache way or something because okay, let me just reload. It's highly close or similar to this one, I believe. Anyway, there is no links here too. Okay, still we can try to use this structure too. I was in the remote access. Let me check the remote access. Since the design changed, I couldn't find it. Okay, let me just read it from here. What should I look for when choosing a VPN? And if you don't see this question in your queries, just tell how to choose a VPN, which is shorter. Remember from the article that I show you from here, If the query gets shorter or the question gets shorter, it means that actually it is more useful to represent more sections at the same time. And in this case here too, how to choose a VPN would be better, plus how to questions are templating. In other words, it is a query template. It will help you to actually link that area further. From there, you can actually link to your VPN buying guide. Here you have use VPN apps, and here you have words like Mac, Android, and Windows. So I guess you are linking to the Windows, download Windows section or something like that. If you are indexing these things, and I am sure that you are, in this case, try to use the word VPN in your anchor text too. Because if you check the web, you will see that the word Windows as an anchor text, usually it leads to the Windows definition or downloading Windows or something like that, rather than downloading a VPN. So since the search engine needs to change the anchor text meaning and context according to the context of your source, actually, if you are able to also use the contextual words for your industry in your anchor text, it will be better too. So you can actually try to link these things under a list, and you can also try to link these things maybe in different sentences at the same time. You can tell that downloading VPN for Windows, Android, etc., and you can actually use the word download and the VPN in these things, which is your context in this area too. And we have the encryption protocols here. We have some other things here, which is good. I'm not against that, but what is a VPN without encryption? So this is a preceding question. Nothing wrong. I will use a question format here too. If it is possible, I will put this question. If this question means, I believe it is a rhetorical question, I know, but I will put still these preceding questions, even if they are rhetorical, to the middle area after answering this section. So before giving the answer, try to not ask a question, because this already carries a question role, and it means that actually if the search engine wants to use this area, they won't be able to use this question. And you should also understand these SERP item instruction technologies. Let me just try to find a quick thing there lastly. I know that we spent quite amount of time just finding. Here. So this one, the web search results summarization. This is a research paper actually for just choosing your description areas in the snippets. They are trying to choose the most related areas. And the thing here is that they already know actually which section of your document can be used in the summarization area for what kinds of queries. And they are actually marking these areas that can't be used for giving information as non-quality sections of the document. If this question doesn't help for explaining this area further, it means that actually it is a non-quality section. And if you really want to tell that encryption is a fundamental or basic of the VPNs, then just tell it rather than asking it, even if it helps for communication. So Edvinas, I believe we are all tired. I am speaking for the 90 minutes without directions and using some tunnels here too. I would be happy to answer your questions if you have questions further.
Yeah, about the definition. What would be your recommendation for differentiating the same definition, the same questions definition in different landing pages? Because we have what is a VPN definition here, and we also have what is a VPN definition in that download page, the main one that you talked about.
Yeah, I understand your question. We actually talk about these things, about the definition samples that we actually have written in this area, or I have written and I explained that. But in your situation too, if you want to define a VPN in a richer way than your competitors, you will need to use more knowledge domain terms in a better order, Plus, you will need to use unique word sequences. So, for instance, if I search for hiding your IP address, which is one of the popular phrases, and I am not telling you to do not use it. But after maybe next section, you might try to change this phrase a little further. You can even use the long version of it. You can actually use the long version of IP, I mean here. Even it will change the word seconds there to create a difference according to your competitor. You can try to actually define the IP address as well in the some sub bottom areas too, because I am sure that there are many other details that you will be able to add to these things or to these areas. Any concept that you see, it can be actually defined even further. And to go further, just try to ask the question and then try to take all these answer terms as I did for this frame area for creating these documents at the bottom. And we already have seen that some of these answer terms are actually already used in our design too. Let me come here. And when I search for what is a VPN, any kinds of bolded area or any kinds of word that appears after the is and encrypted connection, try to use it earlier than your competitors, let's say, because it is one of the common areas. The word internet, let's check whether it appears in your article. I believe it appears, but it doesn't appear in your okay, it appears, sorry. The internet is here too, forgive me. Let me just check the others. The word device, I believe it appears too. It's somewhere here. I have seen something like that, I guess. And the encrypted connection, the, let's say, online privacy, you can use this concept, for instance. Anonymity at somewhere. And when we check the other things here, VPN provides an encrypted server. So encrypted server and encrypted connection, they are like their alternatives to each other. And at somewhere here, you can try to actually use these concepts as somewhere wherever you want. Users, internet connection, and privacy online here we say. And after the encrypted, you at somewhere you can use the word connection, the server at the same time. And let's say check the secure channel. Okay, it's not that perfect. Private online, private network makes masks. So this might be a good one at somewhere. A virtual private network masks. The predicate mask, I mean, it will be good for you. And this one actually uses the long version, as you see, internet protocol, by saying creating a private connection from a public Wi-Fi connection, they say. And to make your research, to make your definition better, for instance, always remember these lexical relations. If you have a public Wi-Fi connection, I believe you will also have other types of Wi-Fi connections too. And you can actually ask questions like, let me just create the information graph, types of Wi-Fi connections. At somewhere the search engine will give me some different connections, wireless LAN or wireless MAN or wireless PAN. I don't know the difference between them. But at somewhere at the bottom in your article too, when you say that VPNs work via public Wi-Fi network or connection, at somewhere you can include these phrases too to define that it works for any kinds of wireless connection at the same time. And these things will be your difference. And you will also bring these things together. If you check it, VPN and the wireless one, I believe at somewhere we will have a connection between them. And connect to the virtual private network VPN from anywhere within the region. It says a WAN may also be a lower power, low bitrate wireless, etc. It means. But we have many other documents that actually mention these things together at somewhere. Is it clear a little?
Yeah, but I would like to expand my previous question. So yeah, you talked about our definition on what is a VPN page right now, but could you, for example, go to our download page?
Develop?
Download.
Download.
Slash,
okay.
yeah.
Let me open the cache. Oh my God, Google. Yes.
Yes, so below one of the first sections will be, yeah, this one, what is a VPN? And here we also have a definition.
Mhm.
So do you think this definition on this page should be also followed by those what is a VPN topic best practices, or
As
should it
long
be more related to VPN as a keyword semantics?
Actually, it is the answer is yes, but the thing here is that as long as your definitions are consistent with each other. For instance, VPN is a service, VPN is a technology. They are not conflicting to each other, but at the same time, they might not complete each other too. So if you're able to use the same type of things in both of the definitions by actually bring them together to each other, it will also help you further too. And this is not a wrong question format, but usually in heading seconds or H2s, I don't ask conjunctant questions. I try to ask one question per H2 so that it can be covered in a really good way. If you want to ask both of them, go with this, link your definitional VPN article, make this a preceding question as you already did in this area for this paragraph, but you don't need to directly include it in directly in this section too. And another thing here is that this definition in this area, again, you have these consistent functionalities at the same time. But if you are able to have similar n-grams to each other, it will better. The word shield, for instance, it doesn't appear entirely, I guess, in this document. Maybe it is appearing the sections that I am not able to download. But if you are able to make these vocabularies common between both of the definitions, even if the order of words are different, it's still good.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And be sure that your definition on this web page is not better than definition in this web page too. Always try to give the real answer, the bigger answer in other areas. There is one more thing here. If I go to this one, let me just bring it here. And this actually gives a quick gives a quick definition by saying stands for and etc, etc, etc. Then it gives the how does a VPN work and what are the benefits and etc. The thing here is that when I look at our own web page, this one, the definitional section, it might not be that big enough or rich enough at the same time. So at somewhere here, the bottom maybe in another area too. If you're able to actually expand this section, maybe just with a couple of lines, it is a UX issue, so I can't tell you these things here directly. But sometimes when you search for these things, you can repeat your definition again. As you remember from the evidence-based ranking or evidence aggregation for ranking, if you repeat your answer by expanding it with further information, even if it under this area, still it is actually good. I can tell that too. So you might need to define these things a little with more detail or variations. It will help you also for ranking better too. And there is of course a gap, especially for history section, for instance. It doesn't appear for you in your article at all. And the uses section appears to, but the word serve, it might not appear or something like that. And again, in the definition that you just showed me from the download page, the word shield, it doesn't appear to. You will need to close this vocabulary differences, and you will need to do it for the benefit of that main article. Okay, any other question? And if you use the word can in your question, use it also in your answer too. Or just tell, what does a VPN offer me, rather than can. Okay?
All right.
And one more thing is that the NordVPN, it has a really strong brand power. And with the biggest possibility, that's why it ranks in a really good way for the word VPN. directly with this. The thing here is that you have all the variations here, but if you wouldn't have a brand power for the VPN industry, just ask yourself what would you change in your web page for having a further chance or relevance or responsiveness. Then you can actually try to improve the page even further, because your H1 directly you already rank for this, so I am not suggesting you to change something, but think like the search engine. If someone writes to the title or the H1 by direct download NordVPN, if the NordVPN is not famous, if it doesn't have any kinds of search demand, it wouldn't help that much for ranking purposes. So for bottom area too, at somewhere, some sections, maybe you already explained, but you can actually give some instructions for downloading the VPN. You already did it, sign up, etc. But you can try to give these things just for Android, and you can link to the Android area too. Maybe you are doing them in this section. I am not sure if these things are tabbed, since I am not able to download the entire article. But while linking these sub-download sections, macOS, Linux, Android, iOS, etc., you can actually also open sub-questions like how to download NordVPN on Windows, and you can link from there too. And maybe people also use these quick links more, but still at the bottom areas you can ask these things and you can link from there as well, as a further suggestion for your future. Anything else, people? Tomislav.
Actually, I have one question regarding a hero section of download page.
Okay.
This one is a dynamic one. It changes depending on user's device. What is the best way to deal with such case where we are kind of trying to show the best and most suitable content for user, or should it be like static one?
So in this type of situations, if the search engine comes to your document with different user agents, even by using different locations sometimes, or even if they change their locations, they can change their user agents. So in this case, they will actually just take your mobile version into the account, because they are using actually mobile only indexing. And I didn't check your crawler methodology. If the Google uses Google smartphone or mobile crawler for your web page, they might not even index the image that you just show at the right side. So if it is not indexed, this image, it will be a really important signal in this case. And if you show a different version of the same article or the same content on mobile, in this case, try to just adjust their order as is. For instance, if this thing comes first in your desktop version, bring it first too. If you lose some of the content on mobile version, let's say, in this case, try to not add links, also resource links too, not image links, not internal links, not anchor texts, and not that much text to them. If they are like decorative differences, it is okay. But if it is content differences, it is a little problematic. If you can't prevent it, just try to keep it minimal, like 5%, let's say. Let's say on mobile, 5% of the sentences are lost. So 5% might not create a big difference from Google's point of view. But when it comes to that 5%, if you have important anchor text, if you have important size, imagine that there is a section on your desktop version and it has 500 pixel width, 500 pixel height, but it doesn't appear for the mobile. So in this case, even if you have just 5% words there, you have a big amount of scroll depth. It will be a problem too. As long as you keep it minimal in terms of word count, and if you don't put some main content there, the important scroll paths, it will help you. Because imagine that the search engine comes to the desktop version, they see a different website tree, a different web page segmentation, and when I come with the mobile version again, they see that everything changes again. It is like crawling two different websites at the same time. And you need to ignore one of them too, which means that actually they can't trust the desktop version that much. So try to minimize it, keep the order same as much as possible. Do not put links or resource links including through these areas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Ayvaras and the friends? The conference room, I mean. Malcolm? Thank you. Nozomi? And
maybe regarding titles, we for download pages we are using every time NordVPN instead of VPN. Do you think that we would be better results if we use VPN instead of NordVPN, or it's okay as it is?
Couldn't understand it clearly. The question is about using the word VPN in the titles for certain situations, but I couldn't understand the situations.
Yes, we are using NordVPN in title.
Okay.
Maybe we could use VPN instead. We are using
the plural version, you mean?
Yeah.
So for plurality, it is a little actually related to my latest research area. I will try to open a couple of things because the plurality affects a couple of other things from search engine point of view. Let me just try to check them quickly. Here. So this one is more important to your question actually, because it is about creating or generating ranked lists of entities. And there are certain type of triggers for creating this type of things. You already remember these, you already see these things actually. When you search for politicians, songs, movies, or countries, you see these type of entity lists at the top. And this is actually the unification of it. And this design is from 2010. So today we have a more improved one. And sometimes we have a kinds of trigger section here, receiving the query, information regarding the documents, identifying entities, categorizing queries, ranking entities. And the main thing here is actually overall satisfied threshold for serving multiple entities. So the thing here is that if you use the plural version by saying VPNs, it means that actually you have multiple other VPN types, brands or products, or VPN offers, services or servers, protocols or tunnels, but any kinds of things that can appear after the VPN. And in this case, it means that you have set of things. In other words, you have certain multiple things from a specific category. And from search engine point of view, they take care of or they care about plurality if only they need to create a ranked list of entities, whether by checking the documents, whether by serving it at the top of the SERP. For instance, what is VPN question should be singular because it is a definitive one. We try to understand a random samples definition, a random samples explanation. But when it comes to the other articles like Dovland, if you hear, for instance, if you tell the Dovland VPNs, you will need to actually include multiple platforms, or you will need to put these things to the top a little maybe further, like macOS VPNs, Linux VPNs, etc. But still the search engine will understand that actually you have only a single VPN there. So if you give set of things on your web page, use the plural form, but be sure that the search engine needs that too. If I give the sample like this, let's say best movies of 2010 as in the patent, you will see this want to search feature here. If I make it TV series, they will change it again. But this time, if I search both of them, you won't see that same feature actually will appear here, because now my query is not categorized. I am actually trying to have two other categories, and it is a problem for the search engine. In your situation too, if you use the word VPNs, try to justify it in your document, because you can't mention your competitors. In this case, you can mention maybe multiple VPN technologies, types, or other types of related things, and do it only if it appears in the queries in that way, because it means that the search engine will need to trigger a listicle at somewhere.
It's more about using singular VPN rather than VPNs. let's say NordVPN, and instead NordVPN using only VPN. Or iPhone or VPN for
Your voice is lost for the last section. Could you say it again?
instead of download NordVPN for Windows, download VPN for Windows.
Edvinas, could you also explain the question for me if you can help?
Yeah, so you have looked into download page before,
Okay.
and there we have H1 download NordVPN and so on. So Ivar's question was, what do you think about changing NordVPN to VPN? Would that help?
Okay, it will actually help for this type of situation if you just change it, because you can still include the NordVPN in your headings at the bottom areas too. But if you are able to just tell VPNs, like download VPNs, VPN apps will work too for Android or for others. It's up to you, Arctic. You know the queries better than me here. But if you just expand the purpose of the web page in this area, it will help for further rankings, because I am sure that when I search for download, let's say VPNs, I believe it will be one of the main query forms for this. At some point, rather than just a single VPN, some pages might actually give multiple other VPNs to compare. They can actually create a kind of hub type like content. You don't need to create a hub or others too, but if you are able to use the word VPN rather than the VPN brand name, it will be better, because if you use the brand name in this area, if you wouldn't have the brand power, it will be hard for you for ranking in that area in a really good way.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Probably the last thing. So yeah, we're almost 2 hours. So about our next steps, I don't know if you saw my email. I asked, what do you think if we together could review our content map? What are we planning to?
I will be able to do it during the audit. And the other thing is the briefs that I have created for you. If you're able to use those briefs by giving me maybe 1 or 2 articles, because I didn't see the article in the Drive folder, I can also try to give you some notes for sentence structures or for explanation of these things. And one more thing is, by the way, yes. So I'm just trying to see a thing here. Yes. Okay. So these things are a little called different. If you check here, yours is actually site-wide links. Basically, actually, the search engine understands the website tree and also connected other purposes on your website, and they actually link these things. If you check the bottom section, the bottom left area, these site-wide links are for different parts of your website. But if I check your competitors, these are not actually site-wide links. These are just fraggles or jump links, as we call. Basically, it is the same web page, the same section, and usually it is an answer to the specific question, like, okay, learn more about the VPNs, for example. It is actually distant from my purpose there. If I check others too, the situation is same. Usually it gives a subsection of the specific website or web page. It says protect your Android device, which is one of the purposes or functions of the VPN at the same time. And again, by saying the protect or other things, it tries to give the purpose. But when I check yours, it is also interesting that download the best VPN for Mac. It actually doesn't appear in your web page's text. Is it right? So probably
Yeah, the heading of the download Mac page.
So this is the title of this specific download Mac page, right? But it is
Yeah.
not an anchor text from your existing article.
No.
So it is also interesting to see that, because for just the Mac, they decided to use maybe a long form, because if you check these sections, it is a little about serving methodology. Usually it is 3 links, and it has a certain proportion compared to the title. It is like symmetric most of the time. Here too, there is a kind of richness for the length of these links. When I come to yours, it is actually 4, which is good. But instead of saying Windows, Android, iOS, and Mac, probably they just wanted to use a long form, one of them. Just the thing here is that why the Mac, not why the Windows? It is one of the interesting things to see. Maybe it is about serving, maybe something else, but it is an interesting case. By the way, your anchor text might also affect that. It might give the search engine a decision for using the title just for the Mac, not for the Android or others. Okay, so I believe we are coming to the end, and in the future we can see each other again. Besides the work, you can also reach out to me. Lately, I am not that active in social media or other places. I am just trying to rest a little further. But it was a good run for me, and explaining these things, I can tell, is hard, but also learning these things is harder. So my suggestion to you is watch these videos and try to practice as much as possible. I have given the general rules in this area as well. You can try to change some certain sentences, and then you can try to actually see how the rankings change. You can try to imagine these imaginary distances from your query to your document, and you can vary the questions, and you can see how the rankings of the same document changes. Like definition of VPN, you can search, and then you can have a certain type of answer order here, and Cisco actually ranks higher than us when we search it in this way. And in this case, just try to go to your own document and try to include the word definition or definition of VPN at somewhere. Then come back and try to check it. And at the same time, when we search for the definition of VPN, you can see these chosen subtypes in these areas too. As much as possible, you can also try to include these things. You can compare their orders to as well. Then just try to change the order of words in the query, and then try to check again how are the rankings changing one more time. Maybe even this area or these entities also might vary from each other, or these sections. And these are already some attributes that the search engine uses for instance, proxy VPN. If you have a proxy Reddit article on your website, you can actually compare them to each other, and you can link both of them at the same time. When it comes to the testing, weather checking, you are already ranking actually here and choosing representative basically here for this query. And in this case too, you can include the word test at somewhere, because search engine relates the definition to the test. That's why actually they are giving it. And any other thing, actually, not this, you can also put some other words between these things as much as possible. Just type a kind of plus here, VPN simple definition. You can also use the word simple at somewhere. If you want, TechTarget actually ranks in this area, and you can try to understand why it is chosen for the simple but not for the other one. Maybe it might help you. Maybe they have a kind of certain synonym of the word simple. Maybe it is shorter than others, maybe something else. So it is the name of actually semantics. It requires to first having a skepticism, then making the research. Okay, so 2 hours. It's a record for me too. I will need to rest a little. I will add the recording later, and happy to know you all, and see you later.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So about it, let's talk in the email, yeah?
Okay, otherwise. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.